Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Jackie and this is Jacqueismaking, a place where I talk all about the knit garments, accessories, and sometimes quilts that I'm making. And today I have for you a podcast episode where I'm going to be going through some of my very latest whips, and at the end I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the quilting that I've been getting into lately. As you may have seen, I have uploaded a couple of videos this month for Vlogmas. They're a little bit more behind the scenes, but in between those, I wanted to make sure to keep up with my normal podcast episodes, so that way those of you that just love the podcast format still get to keep up with it that way. Before we jump into it, I did want to highlight today's sponsor of the video, Luisa Jewelry. Luisa is one of my favorite jewelry brands, and I can now say that after working with them for over a year. The jewelry that I wear on a day-to-day basis, whether it's at home, at work, or out with my friends, is almost always, honestly, 90% you guys, Luisa. The two pieces that I am wearing today and throughout this video are this gorgeous gold ear cuff and these wishbone gold earrings. I especially love this ear cuff when I'm wearing my hair up because I don't have a piercing here, but it makes it look like I do have one. I've never had an issue with it staying. It just adds a little bit of flair and makes me feel kind of like that cool girl with an earring on this side, even though I don't even have it pierced there. Luisa is a sustainable jewelry brand that has perfect, high quality, thoughtful gifts for any of your loved one this holiday season. And right now, Luisa has an amazing holiday sale happening. You can snag your favorite pieces at great discounts. Just click the link in my description to shop the sale. Whether you're shopping for loved ones or treating yourself, now is the perfect time to pick out something special. I personally love giving and receiving jewelry during the holidays. It's a gift that lasts forever. If you're still searching for the perfect gift for your special someone, Luisa has you covered. Don't miss out on their sale. Your future gift recipient will thank you. Thank you again to Luisa for partnering with me, and I hope that you guys can find a gift for someone special. Before we get started today, I did want to mention what I am wearing. This is the shift cowl that I just finished earlier in the month, and this was made out of Junction Fiber Mills Making Tracks light yarn. It's a sport weight yarn, and I made this out of 3 different skeins, so you have 3 different color changing yarns working together beautifully in this mosaic pattern. I especially love this pattern because it's made up in this handkerchief type style where it comes to a little bit of a V at the end and then fits kind of just like a regular cowl around my neck. And I have just loved wearing this, you guys. I see it in my closet and I think about what I can pair with it and wear with it. It just makes me feel kind of excited to be a knitter and to have a piece like this. You know, sometimes when I wear one of the sweaters I've knit, it can kind of tend to look a little bit more like a ready-to-wear piece where someone might not automatically think that I made it, but I really feel like this is something that is so unique. It looks so special, and so it just makes me feel like I'm an artist and I created this when I'm wearing it, which just makes it pretty fun. I did talk about this a little bit in my Vlogmas episode 1. Just went into a little bit more detail, so if you are interested in that, I'll link that up above. To get started today, I can't wait to talk with you about my Bibliophile 3 sweater. This is a sweater that I am making for my husband, and I bought yarn from Knit Picks for the very first time. So I bought their fingering weight yarn. It's called Palette, and I purchased 2 different shades to make a little bit of a marled pattern out of it. So I purchased 2 different colors. One of them, this one on top here, this is called Larch Heather, and the one down below is called Shire Heather. And I picked that out for my husband because he likes Lord of the Rings, and I just thought the Shire was kind of cute. But I love that they have these heathers. They feel so special to me, and I love the way they kind of shine and the line hits them, and that color changing just makes the fabric look so much more alive. I really love a heathered fabric. But yeah, I wanted to get Palette to experience it for myself. I know that Knit Picks is a more affordable yarn brand, and so I've been wanting to try some of their yarns to see if it's something that I could recommend to you all as an alternative to some of the more expensive brands that you see me highlighting sometimes. It's just nice to have some more affordable options that still give you a really beautiful garment. And I have some friends who, when they talk about Knit Picks, they say Palette is their ultimate favorite. And one of my friends had made a sweater where she held it double, highly recommended it. And so yeah, that was kind of my reasoning behind purchasing this. And so far, I've really loved it. I actually just went and grabbed my swatch that I had made when I originally made this. So you can see kind of how the yarns worked up here. It was so beautiful. This is when I first swatched with a 4mm needle, a US 6. That was what the pattern recommended. And this fabric is gorgeous, but it was a little bit too tight for what I needed for the pattern. So I ended up getting started knitting with a US 7 4.5mm needle. And let's see where my front is here. So here is what I have so far. It's actually getting pretty large in my opinion. This is a very standard raglan pattern. I've felt like the directions have been very straight and to the point, a very easy to follow pattern, an enjoyable pattern, especially if you're just looking for kind of a cleansing and something easy to dip your toes back into. Maybe you just finished like a really hard sweater, or you're just, I don't know, you're needing like your knitting mojo back. I feel like this has a little bit been that kind of sweater for me, where it's been the perfect sort of gift knit for my husband, just because it's been easy to work on, you know, kind of mindless and just a really nice stockinette raglan sweater. So I picked this pattern in particular because it had a little bit less ease, and he was wanting something with that like 2 to 4 inches of positive ease, which is what this one has. And you can see here I finished my raglan increases on both sides. So I'm almost to splitting for sleeves. However, I showed you my gauge swatch. I got this out because I wanted to see how much it grew in blocking. I have some before and after pictures in my phone, because my fabric, I went up a needle size thinking that would completely fix all of my problems. And I'm feeling like I'm still not completely where I want to be to split for sleeves. What's nice about this pattern is she has a schematic on page 3 that has all of the dimensions for multiple different places of the sweater. So I can easily look at what I have here, measure, you know, from that collar to where I split for sleeves and see where I'm at. And I'm currently still like 1.5 inches away. So I think what I'm gonna do is continue to knit. I'm gonna see how far I am away from that gauge swatch, like how much it grew in blocking, see if I can have any more little wiggle room there. But yeah, I definitely know I need to add a little bit to this before I can split for sleeves, even though I'm done with my increases. So when I figured this out the other day, I was a little bit spiraling. I was just a little bit worried. Since I'm making this for someone else too, like my husband, he's a little bit particular. And so I really want this to be just something that fits him really nicely. And I know sometimes and I know from reading some project notes and, you know, just other patterns that have raglan increases, if you end up going a little bit too far after you stop increasing, that's when you'll see in a raglan where it has kind of that extra bunching of fabric in that like shoulder underarm portion. So I'm hoping that having to do some extra stitches here won't put me in too bad of a place. But yeah, at this point, I'm not too worried about it. I'm going to probably knit another inch, put it on my husband, see kind of what we're looking like, compare that to some of the measurements that are within that schematic, and then kind of go from there. But all in all, I'm not far from splitting for sleeves, which makes me really excited because I have so many stitches on right now. The amount of stitches I have on right now is a 40-inch cord plus a 30-inch cord, which is crazy. I did not even know that you could connect your Chiagu cords I saw this on I saw this on Knit California's podcast. She's been doing Vlogmas, and she was making this blanket that was in the round where you just keep increasing until you get like all the way to the end of the blanket. And so she was talking about how you can put your Chiagu cords together to make like a huge cord. And I did not know that. I'm like one of those people, I have 2 sets of Chiagu needles, and I just, you know, that little packet that comes with it where it's like the end holders and all that other stuff. I kind of just like looked at that and was like, I don't know what these pieces are, but like, I don't need those pieces to get started. I'm gonna get started knitting, and like, who cares about those, you know? So I didn't even think about what those are, and hearing that, I just had a light bulb go off in my head. I talked to a few of the rest of my friends. I was like, did you guys know this? But anyways, that was a very fun revelation for me, because before I had this just on 140, and it was like, you know, pretty bunched up, because this is a lot of stitches you're doing in a raglan before you split for sleeves. You have a lot of stitches. Think about the shoulder width of a man, you know, it's pretty wide. So my mind was just blown, and I went and looked, and sure enough, I had a little screw connector, connected them right up. So now this is on a 40 plus a 30, and I love it because I can try this on over my head with both of those on without putting it on, try it on tubing. It's also super comfortable to knit with both of these, and I'm just like, guys, why did none of you tell me about this before? And so if you didn't know that fact as well, I hope maybe I'm teaching you something new too, because that's kind of just like given me some freedom this week, is knowing that, not having to constantly put it on, try it on tubing while I'm working it, and also not just like dealing with a million stitches on a shorter cord, right? So that's where I'm at with that. I will say as well, this fabric is looking so beautiful. I really love these 2 colors together. If you're a green person, I definitely recommend them. I'll leave both colors linked below for you. And then the only other thing I did on this week as well is I finished my collar. So let's see if you can see this. Oh, you can pretty nicely. It was hard for me to decide exactly what to do with this collar, as the pattern gives like 3 different options actually. And so the option that I went with was the crew neck version, where you knit about 1 inch. I think I ended up doing maybe about 1.5 inches. I wanted it just a little bit higher. And she actually recommends doing a twisted rib. I started that, and I felt like with me holding the yarn double, it just looked a little too thick. So I ended up ripping it out. I went down a needle size and did a regular 1x1 rib. And I really, really liked that. So I stuck with that. And then she also recommended Jenny's surprisingly stretchy bind off, which is a bind off I like, but I don't always like it where you can see it. Like, I wanted something a little bit more polished. So I just did an Italian bind off, and I think that ended up looking very nice. Like, it just looks like a nice standard neckline, and I'm very pleased with it. So yeah, that is where my Bibliophile sweater is for right now. I will say I tried it on. Looks nice on me. I'll have to show you guys a picture of that. But as we know, love making a sweater for my husband and being able to steal it, so I'm hoping that this one is one of those as well. Next, I have an update for you on my Moonwhistle Shawl, and this is a shawl I'm feeling like is a little bit eclectic. I'm making it out of 3 very different yarns. And all of these yarns are new to me yarns where I've never used them before. So it's been a really fun project to have all these different like textures going throughout it. The 3 yarns that I'm using is this is Cumbria by the Fiber Co. And this is a worsted weight yarn that is 90% wool, 10% mohair in the colorway Seascape. Then I have Blue Sky Fibers, wool stock worsted, and this is in, I would say, a very true navy. The color is called Midnight Sea, and this is also a worsted weight. This is a 100% fine Highland wool. And then lastly, I have Lang Lovis, and this is a very fun color changing yarn. It's a 100% extra fine merino, and this one is superwash. The other two are not. But, so I'm holding all three of these together, and you'll be able to see what they're looking like together shortly. But this one I did want to show you. It's kind of fun. When you peek through the middle, it kind of looks unassuming, right? You might just be like, oh, it's just brown and a little tan. And then when you go in the middle, it looks so like Cheeto-y, I've been calling it. Looks like straight Cheetos on the inside. So it's really, really fun. And this yarn is so soft. If you're looking for an alternative to some of the other color changing yarns out there, you know I love the Junction Fiber Mill. This is a little bit more rustic, you know, it's a non-superwash wool. This is a very, very soft superwash wool. So if you're looking for something that's just a little bit more for sensitive skin, this is really nice. All right, and here is what I have so far. It's getting so big. You can see, it was actually a little bit, I'm gonna have to remember to fold this. It gets a little wrinkly. You can see here, my gauge is a little open. You can see through it a little bit, huh? But it's working up really beautifully. You can see a little bit of that color changing yarn where it's more orange when I first started, and now we're going into a section, I would say that's more just like a true brown in there. Like on camera, you probably can't see it super good, but if I hold it back here, you might be able to see a little bit of that color change. So far, I've been super happy with my color choices. I wanted to select something that was very similar to Andrea's. I just loved the way her stripes looked and that background color. So that was kind of the reason behind my color decisions. The only change I made is the blue I selected is a little bit more teal to be just a tiny bit more in my autumn color palette. But yeah, I've just loved working on this. It's so easy. Again, I feel like both the projects I'm working on right now are a little bit of palette cleanser projects where that one's stockinette. This one is like straight garter stitch for those stripes. And then the sections that have the tweed, as Andrea calls it, are really just like slipping stitches. Very, very similar to the shift cowl that I'm wearing. So yeah. And the fabric, like I mentioned, it's not super tight. It's not open, but it's not super, super tight. It's just very like stretchy, squishy. Whenever I'm knitting it, I'm just like constantly squishing it. That garter stitch is just so lovely. But yeah, I can't wait to see what this looks like. I'm excited to have a little bit of a darker shawl because the shawl that I currently have is one that's made out of the Wandering Flock, and it's such bright colors with that white background and those neon shades. So I'm excited to have something that's just a little bit more apt for winter and is darker. And oh, looking at this in the viewfinder, I'm like, I can't wait. That's so, so beautiful. Wow. It just made me happy. I'm excited for this. So yeah, I hope you guys like this as well. I did mention too, the side of this looks like it's intentionally scalloped. It's not. You're just changing that tension in between those different sections. So I think I'm gonna have to get one of those blocking wires to like block it fully out, which will be fun to talk with you guys about anyways. But yeah, those are my two knitting projects that I am like really going after, really trying to finish. I actually just purchased 2 different yarn orders. So I'm thinking through all of my winter knitting plans and kind of my queue that I'm going through and kind of prepping my yarn. So stay tuned for that video as well, because I'm gonna be talking you all through exactly what the plans are, exactly what the yarn is, and I'm kind of having fun curating that. So I hope that you guys will like to see that as well. But in the meantime, while I'm planning that out and getting that all ready, focusing on finishing those 2. As you may know, I do have a couple of other things like on the needles, but they're kind of like in the naughty pile right now, you know. I'm ignoring them. They hurt my feelings, you know, one of those. I will say I have a couple balls of yarn just from my friends that I thought I would share because these are kind of acquisitions. I did a sock yarn trade with friends. It was kind of like a holiday gift exchange where then you can trade and so on. So one of the sock yarns that I got is this Regia. Super fun. It's like a self-striping. And I actually just got this book on Amazon too. I don't have it, it's upstairs. It's a really short book. I'll have to share it on screen with you all. But it's all about making socks that are better fit to you. So this is the type of thing I want to try with that. And I've never used Regia before. Regia. So this is the 4-ply, and I actually, one of those yarn orders I was talking about, I have a 6-ply coming too, which is a DK weight sock. So I'm hoping that book plus these two will allow me to really like actually get some good fitting socks, because over this past year, I've made a handful of socks and they all fit so different. And I have not perfected that yet. So that is a skill I'm working on. Another yarn I have to show you. Look at this. I've never owned a Noro yarn before, and we had like a little giveaway table of yarns my friends and I did. So I gave away some of my old skeins, and my friend Sarah had this one. She had actually made a summer sweatshirt out of this yarn, and this is a 50% cotton, 30% silk, 10% viscose, and 10% polyamide. And I know, isn't this huge? This is 200 grams and 600 meters. So what I actually saw online was a lot of people have only used one skein to make like a tank top. There's also been some like summer kind of scarves, some other little things. So if you guys have ever used this before, I'm sorry I didn't give you the name. The name is called Kakagori. If you ever used this before, if you have any good recommendations for me on exactly what I should be using this yarn for, I would love to hear your recommendations, because I think this is just so gorgeous. And I normally don't wear pink, but like I couldn't give it up. It looks so cool. So I'm kind of thinking this will be like a springtime, summertime tank top, but you know, I said I was done with summer knits, but maybe that'll be my only one. We'll see. And then lastly, this is from another friend. It's Briggs & Little, which I've never tried before, but I've always wanted to. This is their 2-ply 100% wool, and it's called Heritage. And this is a product of Canada. And this is a gorgeous, gorgeous 2-ply yarn with that white and gray. I'm not sure what to make with this. Let's see. It has 113 grams. Does it say oh, it's 215 yards. So yeah, and my friend said it's about an Aran weight. It does look pretty thick to me. So I'm thinking I could get away with like a worsted to Aran weight. But I'm just not sure what to make out of this. This also might make a good sort of like gift knit, a little scarf or a hat, or like she was saying, it's a little bit rustic, so maybe some mittens. Not really sure, but yeah, those are like some fun acquisitions that entered my stash this week. So that's all for knits, and now I have a couple of updates about quilts. My first update that I have for you all is I finished that tree table runner. So I have this here. I actually had to take this away from my table. It was all set up on my kitchen table with some candles and some coasters on it, but here is the table runner. I will say this is extremely handmade looking, in my humble opinion. This is not my best work. It's fine. It's one of those things where, like, you know, I had started this project last year. I took it out. I felt guilt about not finishing it. And then it was just like, you know, it's Christmas. I already purchased this kit. I had already cut everything out. You know, some parts of it were sewn. And so I was just like quickly going through it. And I've learned this about myself. I'm this kind of maker. I should never do things very quickly and with haste, because it's just, it doesn't work out the best for me. It's my best products are not a result of working too fast. It's a fun state of mind for me. I will say I like working fast. It feels like I can get into a flow state and I can just zoom through things. But it does not produce my best work. And I know this about myself every single time I do it. And every single time I justify things in my brain where I'm like, you know, where you take shortcuts and I'm like, it'll be fine if I do this. I can do it this way. This will be faster and quicker. And yeah, it just never works out. So aspects of this, it's like not, I'll show you this side. Like the bottom has a little bit of a curve. It's not perfectly lined up. The quilting, I just kind of went AWOL. You can see like there's just like some different quilting lines throughout. But some of my piecing looks good. Like that looks pretty. I just thought it would be fun to just kind of like quilt it however I wanted. So I just stuck it under my machine and I was just zooming around. But yeah, so like it does kind of look crazy on screen how you can see my different quilting lines. What I would have done differently had I have had the patience in my soul to slow down is I would have pieced this slowly and correctly. Then I would have sent it to a long armor, or I would have quilted it like exactly like straight lines or a hatch design. Ideally, I would have sent it to a long armor, and that way I would have liked the quilting better. Because kind of what I don't like is I just went crazy and like did whatever quilting I wanted. And by that, I just mean the top stitching. So you can see here, like I have some triangles here. Then I kind of did some zigzags and whatever. Yeah, I think I would have rather just sent it off, and then like because I finished it and I was already like, oh, I'm already done with that, then I just quick did the binding under my machine as well. And I almost always hand stitch binding on something like a project that I really love. So yeah, not to be negative, because this, when it was out on my table, my husband's like, that's my favorite piece you've ever quilted. And I was like, what? Because I've made some gorgeous pieces before, but he just felt like it looked so beautiful. He loved it on the table. And then when I've shown it to some friends, they've been like, oh, that's such an heirloom piece. So yeah, it's kind of funny, right? Like the things that you see that you think aren't up to par can still be so beautiful to other people. So this is one of those things. I think I will put it out for decor until I make something better. And until then, I told myself I'm going to love and admire it for its little quirks. And yeah, I'm excited to have this finished. But life lessons were learned during this, okay? It's not that I have to tell myself, like, you're not a bad baker. You're not a bad quilter. You just went too fast and you just wanted it done. So that's what happened. But so that was my really fast one. Now the things in my life that I'm going to take my time on, I have that wedding quilt that I'm going to be finishing up here within the next week. I just really have like sashing in between things. I have all of my major pieces finished for it. So look forward to that being a finishing object next week, as far as just like the quilt top. And then I'm going to be working with a long armor to get that finished, and then I will be hand doing the binding. But one last thing I did want to talk about that I have mentioned on Vlogmas too is this is what I'm really excited for. I really want to finish that wedding quilt so I can just dig my hands into this gorgeous, gorgeous quilt. This is the Quilted Snowman by Fat Quarter Shop, and this was designed by Lori Holt of Beat in My Bonnet Co. And looking at this picture, I'm telling you, you guys, you don't get the magnitude and the beauty of this quilt, okay? This is huge. It's just shy of a queen size quilt. It has all of these different elements within it, so many different blocks and fun things to look at. Look at all of these fabrics. So look at all these fabrics. There are so many different fabrics in here, so many gorgeous things. Oh, I just like, this is gonna be so fun to make with you guys. One, because of all of the different fabrics and blocks within here. I think it'll be really cool to showcase for you all the making of all of these different blocks. But then also, it's fun because Fat Quarter Shop has a quilt along for 2025 for this quilt. So if you like it and you're inspired by what I'm making, I think it would be fun for any of you to join that quilt along and just have like something to do with friends or with online friends, because you're gonna have someone like walking you through it with videos and that sort of thing. But like, even just look at this. Look at all these. Oh, it's so exciting. I would love to walk you through all of these, but I think you would be overwhelmed. So yeah, what I'm gonna do is, once I am done with that wedding quilt, is I'm gonna break this pattern down block by block, and we're just going to get started. I mean, you guys, this is 58 pages long, and she's a lot. But yeah, what I'm thinking is like, you know, maybe one week we have the goal of like finishing this block, and then that's gonna be my finished block of that week during my podcast or whatever. And then I can talk with you about any sort of issues or fun things that I had with that block. You know, there's so many different things. Like, some of these have a lot of curves, some are much bigger than others. So yeah, surely there will be issues that arise, but also really fun times that arrive. And I personally love working on quilts that have an assortment of little blocks. You guys have always seen in my background, this is a quilt that is made up of so many tiny different blocks. You can kind of see like, that's one block, that's one block. That one here, this 9 patch, that's one block. Like, it's made out of all of these different ones. And that was so digestible for me, and also fun that it wasn't the same block 16 times or whatever. If you haven't seen my bird quilt before, that one was particularly hard for me because it was the exact same block over and over and over again, right? For the bird, I was doing like a beak 16 times. I was doing a tail 16 times. There was never enough like mental stimulation for me. So when I got to make this quilt, I loved the aspect that every single block was a different challenge, and it allowed me to like slow down, take my time, refine that one block, like get it exactly how I wanted, the correct measurements, and then move on to the next one. So that's why I picked this quilted snowman one, and I'm kind of hoping for the same experience. But what will be fun is that will just be like, it will be an experience. I know it will be. And living in Wisconsin, like, snow is one of my all-time favorite memories. And just having like that go-to quintessential quilt, like, I just imagine like family members one day, who gets the snowman quilt? I want the snowman quilt. Like, that's what I picture when I create these sort of things. So that's why I'm excited about it. Like, I hope one day generations of my family can see this video and be like, wow, she was so excited to make this for our family, and now we fight over it because it's the best quilt in the house. So yeah, that is everything I'm excited about for that one. And I think that is all of the updates on all of my makes lately. I hope that you guys are enjoying your making as well throughout this holiday season, and that you're taking care of yourself. It can get really easy during the dark days to just like have mental health struggles or whatever you're dealing with physically, mentally, emotionally. Just know that like I'm there with you, and crafting has been something that has helped me so much through the past year with anything that I'm going through. So I just like pray that that is something that helps you too. And we can just like be in this together. Whatever we're going through, joy that can be found through skill building and making, it's truly a gift. and it's fun to learn and grow alongside all of you. So thank you guys so much for watching today's podcast. Like I mentioned, there is a couple of Vlogmas episodes. I'm not sure how much I'll be able to keep up with that throughout the rest of the month, but I'm hoping to do a little bit more just like behind the scenes showing you all. But yeah, that's all that I have for you guys today. I hope that you have a great rest of your week, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.